3:23. Israel Standard Time. 15:23. Daf Yomi. Tractate Makos. Page 14b. Top of the page with the words Me'achoto Dresha. And if you wish, say instead that he derives it. Now on the top of 14b. From the term his sister at the beginning of the verse, Leviticus 20:17, as the verse could have formulated in a man who takes the daughter of his father or the daughter of his mother, and there is no need to mention sister at all. Liability for intercourse with a woman who is the daughter of both his father and his mother is derived from the term his sister. V'idach hahu mibayele nechale kares lam mefatem belasach. And according to the other opinion of the rabbis, since nothing relevant to the topic of intercourse with one's sister is derived from the term sister, that term is necessary in order to derive an unrelated matter, meaning to divide the various prohibitions and establish liability for either one who blends anointing oil or who blends anointing oil, or for one who applies anointing oil to receive karet if he performed either intentionally, and to bring a sin offering if he performed either unwittingly, even though only a sin punishment of karet is written in the verse. A man who blends a mixture like it and places any of it upon a non-priest, and he shall be excised from his people. Exodus 30:33. V'idach Sofer Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Yehoshua, Di'amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yehoshua, Kol makom she'ata motze shnei lavin v'karet echad chalukin hein lekorban. And the other, Rabbi Yitzchak, holds in this regard, in accordance with that which Rabbi Elazar says, that Rabbi Yehoshua says, that Rabbi Elazar says, that Rabbi Yehoshua says, that there is a principle. Any place where you find two different prohibitions and one punishment of karet stated concerning them, they are distinct with regard to liability to bring an offering if he performed both unwittingly. He is liable to bring two sin offerings, according to Rabbi Yitzchak. There is no need for an additional derivation to render one who unwittingly blends and applies anointing oil liable to bring two sin offerings. V'i ba'isema lo savar la karabi Elazar v'naf kalami va'ish asher yishkav et ha'isha nava. And if you wish, say instead that he does not hold in accordance with that which Rabbi Elazar says, that Rabbi Yehoshua says in this regard, and he derives liability to bring two sin offerings for one who unwittingly blends and applies anointing oil from a superfluous term elsewhere, and a man who lies with a woman who is afflicted, and both of them shall be excised. That seems more appropriate and more connected. How do you get spicing oil from, that? It seems like it's totally not, everything's connected, but this is much more within the category. Leviticus 20:18, intercourse with a menstruating woman is already included in the verse. For anyone who performs any of these abominations, the souls who do so shall be excised from among their people. Leviticus 18:29. Since this verse does not introduce any nuance concerning the punishment of karet for one who engages in intercourse with a menstruating woman, an unrelating matter is derived, which establishes liability for one who blends anointing oil, and for one who applies anointing oil to receive karet if he performed either act intentionally, and to bring a sin offering if he performed either act unwittingly. Okay. Haume Boyle, the Rabbi Yochanan, Diam Rabbi Yochanan, Meshum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Minayin she'en ha'isha tme'ah, ad she'tzeh midava derech elvata, שנאמר, ואיש אשר ישכב את אישה דבר וגילה את ערוותה במים. ולמה שאין האישה טמאה עד שיצא מדווה דרך ערוותה. And according to the other opinion of the rabbis, what is derived from the verse is necessary for him to derive the halacha in accordance with the statement of Yochanan. As Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, from where is it derived that a woman is impure as menstruating woman only if the blood of menstruation is discharged through her organ? Blood discharged from any other orifice does not render her impure. It is derived as it is stated, and a man who lies with a woman who is afflicted and uncovers her nakedness. Leviticus 20:18, which teaches that a woman is impure only if the blood of menstruation is discharged through her female organ. Female organ. וטמא שאכל את הקודש בשלום אבל בהקדש טמא כתיב עונש וכתיב אזהרה עונש תכתיב את משכן השם טימא ונכרתה אזהרה ולא יטמאו את מחניהם אלא טמא שאכל את הקודש בשלום עונש כתיב והנפש אשר תאכל בשר מזרח שלמים אשר השם תומסו עליו ונכרתה אלא זרה מן העין. The Mishnah teaches a ritually impure person who ate sacrificial food and one who entered the temple while ritually impure are flogged. The Gemara asks, granted, one who entered the temple while ritually impure is flogged, as a punishment is written, and a prohibition is written. The Gemara elaborates, there is a punishment, as it is written. He has rendered impure the tabernacle of the Lord, and that soul shall be excised. Numbers 19:13. And there is a prohibition, as it is written, and they shall not render their camp impure. Numbers 5:3. But with regard to a ritually impure person who ate sacrificial food, granted a punishment is written, and the soul that eats from the flesh of a peace offering that pertains to the Lord, and his impurity is upon him. And that soul shall be excised. Leviticus 7:20. But from where is a prohibition derived? Reish Lakish Omer Echol Kodesh Lo Siga. Reish Lakish says the prohibition is derived from that which is written with regard to a woman after childbirth who has not yet completed the purification process. No consecrated item shall she touch. Leviticus 12:4. And the reference is not merely to touching, but to eating. Rabbi Yochanan Omer Tane Baradila Asya Tumaso Ketiv Hachar V'Tumaso Alav V'Nichrita Uchetiv Asam Tamei Od Tumato Bo Ma Lehalan Onesh V'Azara Afkan Onesh V'Azara. Rabbi Yochanan says that a sage named Bardala teaches the matter is derived by means of a verbal analogy between the term his impurity, written here, and the term his impurity written there. Here, with regard to the ritually impure person who eats sacrificial food, it is written, and his impurity is upon him, and that soul shall be excised. There, with regard to a ritually impure person entering the temple, it is written, he shall be impure. His impurity is yet upon him. Numbers 19:13. Just as there with regard to a ritually impure person who entered the sanctuary, there is a punishment and there is a prohibition, as noted earlier. So to here with regard to a ritually impure person who ate sacrificial food, it is derived that there is a punishment and there is a prohibition. The Gemara analyzes the dispute. Granted, Rish Lakish did not say. And the source for the prohibition is a verbal analogy, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, as he did not receive his verbal analogy as a tradition from his teachers, and one may not derive a verbal analogy on his own. But what is the reason that Rabbi Yochanan did not say? And the source of the prohibition is the verse, "No consecrated item shall she touch," in accordance with the opinion of Rish Lakish, as that appears to be a more straightforward source. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yochanan could say to you, that is not a prohibition for partaking of sacrificial food in a state of impurity, rather. It is a prohibition for partaking of truma in a state of impurity. Rish Lakish, Azaran Trumanale, Nafkalem Ish Bizera Haran. והוצרו זהב, איזהו דבר שהוא שווה בזרעו של אהרון, אבל זה תרומה ואידך, ההוא לאכילה וההוא לנגיעה. Or asks, and Rish Lakish, where does he derive a prohibition against partaking of truma in a state of impurity? Do you want to answer this? He derives it from that which is written. Any man from the descendants of Aaron who is leprous or zav may not partake of this sacred food until he will be pure. Leviticus 22, verse 4. The phrase descendants of Aaron indicates that the prohibition applies to all descendants, including women. What, then, is an item whose status is equal with regard to all descendants of Aaron as opposed to certain sacrificial foods that may be eaten only by males? You must say it's true. The Gemara asks, and according to the other opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, which is derived from this verse, the Gemara answers, this verse serves to prohibit partaking of truma while impure, and that verse, no constructed item shall touch, serves to prohibit touching truma while impure. Okay. V'reish Lakish, ha'bechol kodesh lo ziga lehachi hu diasa hu mibayle de tamei shenag b'kodesh t'itmar tamei shenag b'kodesh Reish Lakish amar loke Rabbi Yochanan omer einu Reish Lakish omer loke bechol kodesh lo tiga Rabbi Yochanan omer ein loke ahu azara b'truma hu diata. The Gemara asks, and according to Reish Lakish, does this verse, no consecrated item shall she touch, Leviticus 12:4, come to teach this prohibition concerning partaking of sacrificial food? He requires that verse in order to derive the prohibition of a ritually impure person who touched sacrificial food, as it was stated that there is an Amorite dispute with regard to a ritually impure person who touched sacrificial food. Reish Lakish says he is flogged, and Rabbi Yochanan says he is not flogged. The Gemara elaborates. Reish Lakish says he is flogged, as is written, no consecrated item shall she touch. Rabbi Yochanan says he is not flogged because it is to teach a prohibition for touching truma that this verse comes. Tamei shenag b'kodesh v'yavakei rachman v'neshon negia azar lo echeres itakavosh kodesh lemikdash. The Gemara answers, Reish Lakish derives both prohibitions from this verse. The prohibition concerning a ritually impure person who touched sacrificial food is derived from the fact that the merciful one formulates the prohibition with the term touching. The prohibition for a ritually impure person who partakes of sacrificial food is derived because the matter of a ritually impure person eating sacrificial food is juxtaposed to the matter of entering the temple while ritually impure, as the Gemara explains below. V'akati lehachi udasa ahu mibayle tamishachar b'sal kodesh lifnei zrikas damim de'it bar tamishachar b'sal kodesh lifnei zrikas damim yesh lakish omer loke Rabbi Yochanan omer eno loke. The Gemara asks, and still, does the verse come from that derivation? Reish Lakish requires that verse in order to derive the prohibition for a ritually impure person who ate sacrificial meat before the sprinkling of the blood of the offering on the altar when it is not permitted to partake of the meat. As it was stated, there is a Amoraic dispute with regard to a ritually impure person who ate sacrificial meat before the sprinkling of the blood. Reish Lakish says he is flogged for doing so, and Rabbi Yochanan says he's not flogged. Reish Lakish, Omer Elokim B'chol Kodesh Lo Siga, Lo Shno Lefnei Zrika, Lo Shno Zachar Zrika, Rabbi Yochanan Omer, Ein Elokim, Rabbi Yochanan L'tamei, Damar Kra Tumaso, Ketiv Tumaso, Achar Zrika Hu Dichtiv, Hahimi B'chol Kodesh Nafka. Reish Lakish says he is flogged, as it is written, no consecrated item shall she touch, which is stated in general terms, indicating that it is no different whether one touches the consecrated item prior to sprinkling the blood, and it is no different if one touches the consecrated item after sprinkling the blood. Rabbi Yochanan says he's not flogged. Rabbi Yochanan conforms to his standard line of reading that the prohibition is derived by means of a verbal analogy cited above, as the verse states, his impurity, written with regard to a ritually impure person who eats sacrificial food, and the meaning of that term is derived from his impurity. Written with regard to a ritually impure person entering the temple, and when his impurity is written, it is with regard to partaking of sacrificial meat after the sprinkling of the blood that is written. The Gemara explains that according to Reish Lakish, that prohibition is derived from the term no consecrated item. The term bechol, I think the pasuk is Tamish Achal Basar of days because of that. Okay. Apparently it says for all. Bechol. Where were we? I lost the place here. Right. The Gemara asks us, okay. Reish Lakish says he is flogged, as it is written, no consecrated item shall she touch, which is stated in general terms, indicating that it is no different whether one touches the consecrated item prior to sprinkling the blood, and it is no different if one touches the consecrated item after sprinkling the blood. Rabbi Yochanan says he's not flogged. Rabbi Yochanan conforms to his standard line of reasoning that the prohibition is derived by means of a verbal analogy cited above, as the verse states, his impurity written with regard to a ritually impure person who eats sacrificial blood, and the meaning of that term is derived from his impurity written with regard to a ritually impure person entering the temple. And when his impurity is written, is with regard to partaking of sacrificial meat after the sprinkling of the blood that is written. The Gemara explains that according to Reish Lakish, that prohibition is derived from the term no consecrated item, bechol, as the term bechol is inclusive and prohibits one from partaking of sacrificial meat even before the sprinkling of the blood. Tanya kavas Reish Lakish, bechol kodesh lo yisiga azar el oichel, ata oimer azar el oichel, Eina ela azar lenagea, tamloim bechol kodesh lo yisiga el mikdash v'goymer, makish kodesh lemikdash.
מה מקדש דבר שיש בו ניטלס נשומו, אף כל דבר שיש בו ניטלס נשומו. ואי בנגיע מעיקר נטילס נשומו, אלא באכילו. The Gemara comments, it is taught in a brisa in accordance with the opinion of Reish Lakish. It is written, no consecrated item shall she touch. This is a prohibition for a ritually impure person who eats sacrificial food. Do you say that it is a prohibition for a ritually impure person who eats sacrificial food, or perhaps it is only a prohibition for a ritually impure person who touches sacrificial food? The verse states, no consecrated item shall she touch, and to the temple she may not come. Leviticus 12:4. The verse juxtaposes the manner of a ritually impure person eating sacrificial food to the matter of entering the temple while ritually impure. Just as entering the temple is a matter that entails a punishment that involves the taking of a life, eating karet, so too every matter in that verse entails a punishment that involves the taking of a life. The Gemara explains, and if the prohibition is with regard to touching sacrificial food, is there a punishment that entails the taking of a life? Rather, the prohibition is with regard to eating. Amar Rabba bar bar Chana bar Yohanan, kol osasi shikama say lo gelalahu. Rabba bar Chana says that Rabbi Yochanan says with regard to any prohibition that has a positive mitzvah that preceded it, everyone agrees that one is flogged for its violation, as it is not classified as a prohibition that entails fulfillment of a positive mitzvah.